Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to The Natural View. I'm Maggie Jacqua. I'm the editor-in-chief of Whole Foods Magazine, and I'm joined by Todd Pawley of 24 Stories, and we have two great guests today. We have my publisher of Whole Foods Magazine, Heather Weiner, and we have Len Monheit of Trust Transparency Center, and they are here to fill us in on what is coming up for 2021 in the Naturally Informed Virtual Event Series. Welcome, everyone.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
So Maggie, we started talking about these early last year as you guys were you were the first, right, to spin up these types of virtual events. And here we are, we're at the end of the year. I don't know if any of us thought we'd still be talking virtual at this point when we first started out, but as it happens, we are, and you guys have a full slate planned for next year. And I'm wondering, Len, can you tell me a little bit about what's coming up and kind of what your thought process was as far as launching another slate of these events?
Yeah, absolutely, Todd. Well, we had some success. We got great engagement. We had some really diverse topics that were right on situationally. But we also realized that this is going to be part of our continuum moving forward. So we're really excited about what we got planned for next year. In January, we're shifting into mental wellness, mastering the market. And very, very hot topic with a lot going on, everything from sleep and mood and cognition and nootropics and adaptogenics and all of those things. So that's what we're starting out with in January, the end of January. In April, we're moving to Nutri-Beauty. That's the beauty from within, but a little bit more expansive. Again, propelled by collagen. Despite everything that's shifting behavior over the course of the last 6 months, that Nutri-Beauty space continues to grow and propel. We're moving into active nutrition in June. Again, that is everything from the weekend warriors and endurance to performance, sports, engagement, the mental acuity needed to perform at high levels, all of those types of things in active nutrition. And then in the fall, we're moving into healthy aging, a topic that's been done. We're doing it in a unique style of the virtual conference, 2-day type of format with our audience that does transcend, as you know, the ingredients, the brands, service providers, all the way into natural retail across the 2-day span. Very excited about what we got coming up.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. And I like the fact that you're covering so many different areas of the space as well. Heather, so looking back at last year, as you kicked this series off, what are some of the things you've learned as far as attendee benefits? Why do people come? What have they been most excited about as they've gone through each of these virtual events? And what are some of those key areas that you're carrying forward into next year?
Well, it's been educational for us as well, but education is the big key of where we have been successful. Where we come back in the comments we've gotten is that they haven't been able to get this much education anywhere, including live events that they were doing before. So people are really thankful for that. So even if our life did get normal again this year, we knew that we were going to continue with these events, and we do think that it's something that we will do for the future as well, being that it's a necessary point that people do need. And we don't know what travel is going to be going in the future. So with that in mind, we had an education, and everybody else is getting educated too. It's been the high caliber speakers that we have involved, that we will continue, and a dedicated content. I mean, that's a little bit different, that as Len just named off our events for next year and what we did for this year too. They were targeted content. So it was, it got to where people's interests were. And different people have interest different places, and a continuation of this content was something that was just really important for it to be targeted. And that's where the sponsors are. It's not like a NASCAR race where there's tons of sponsors. It's it's a targeted sponsorship as well, where you are on these topics, and these people do have content that they really want and follow up to. And then the other thing is that it goes across the board. We've reached suppliers, we've reached manufacturers, we've reached natural practitioners and retailers who are all our core base. And that's where our audience is really targeted to, that we are constant in educating them as well.
Yeah, I think that's such a unique aspect of your events, right? That you are targeting the whole supply chain. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, as you continue to do that going to 2021, how did that process of thinking about the entire supply chain in the marketplace inform some of the topics that you chose? Len, you gave a great example of or you gave a great rundown of what those topics will be. Can you delve a little bit deeper, maybe a couple of examples of why those were chosen and kind of how those affect, how did you think about suppliers? How did you think about brands? Or finished goods brands? How did you think about retailers when you put those together?
Absolutely, and there's a lot of background and thinking, and it's really a brain trust working with Heather, her team, Maggie and Nathan on our editorial guidelines to really drive this and make it provocative, but at the same time make it practical. So if you consider what the brand needs are, they need to know what the emerging science, how to utilize that science, how to incorporate the ingredients into product formulations, and then you move into how do you communicate downstream, whether that is communicating with the retailer, whether that is communicating with the consumer, and then where is the consumer at in each of these spaces. So those are some of the things that go into us putting together the curriculum and making sure that even where we've got a sponsor providing the content, it's going to go through our editorial checks to make sure that it's not promotional, that it's on point to be able to deliver that practical message, but also it needs to be scientifically substantiated and verified and validated, but that also that interpretive sense, okay, this is a great foundation. Now, what do you do with that foundation? That's the way we've approached each of these events and each of the topics. There needs to be the right critical mass, but also a defined space. We also need to make sure that for each of these, and we believe we've hit it, that there's an identified audience piece at every station along the supply chain that Heather mentioned that's going to get value, and then we target our content to deliver that value.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Another thing I think we definitely need to touch on very quickly and just remind people, one of the unique components that you bring to these events is the roundtable discussions and that sort of deeper networking type of experience. And I'm just wondering, and tell me, and anyone chime in here if you saw any examples of these, but I like the idea of bringing all the people together from the supply chain. So did you ever, at these roundtable discussions, did you ever have, a supplier talking to a retailer, making connections there, maybe coming up with ideas? Because I think that could potentially be a really unique aspect to these events that you don't really see with more traditional events that are really targeted to one aspect of that supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had that. And also in some of the panel discussions, we've had that where we have retailers and suppliers and brands all talking about a topic and talking about where they're at and how they can work synergistically to benefit everybody. So it's definitely information that we're working on delivering. And then, when you're live, we have the roundtables where you can come in and really engage, and also the Q&A live. So you can actually talk to all the experts who are there. It's not pre-recorded with most of the sessions. So that's a huge benefit.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
The roundtables open that discussion for everybody to have, no matter who you are, it's that conversation that they do have. And that's been a great networking opportunity for these people, the attendees.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Len, do you have something?
Yeah, and speaking just a little bit about the roundtables, and there's two types. We've had some that have been speaker driven or editorial driven, and we've had some that have been sponsor driven. And obviously, we're coaching and working with our sponsors to make sure that they provoke and that the tone is right, and also editorial, that we're provoking and getting right into some of the nitty gritty issues relating to each of these categories. One of the examples I'll give was at our most recent microbiome event. Maggie and I were doing a roundtable on the debate between prebiotics and probiotics and which is more important and which has the most potential. So we're not shying away from some of those provocative topics.
Oh, nice. And it occurs to me just really quickly, this whole platform and the way you've set this up in terms of efficiency, when people are really trying to get in and get information, whether it's about formulation or finished goods or the retail landscape, I can't think of a more efficient way to do this, to bring people together under one focused topic across the supply chain and really have those discussions. If you think about, traditional in-person events, those discussions might happen, but they kind of happen many times, in hallways or in other random areas that you might miss. This is a sure way to kind of get in and get the best thinking and the best minds and their opinions on this and really discuss. So I think it's a great platform as always. I'm looking forward to next year. Anything else before we sign off?
Well, Todd, it's funny that you say that, because that's always been our mission here at Whole Foods Magazine. And that's kind of where we went with the events. Luckily, Len was willing to come along with us, is that, we write from the beginning, from that supplier to that finished product.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's why these events kind of do transform off our pages a little bit. And we've actually taken the content we've gotten from the events onto our website and onto our pages in the magazine too, as Trust, Transparency, Len, you could talk about, but they've taken into their blogs and things like that as well. So we've all been able to get more content from these things to really educate people even more besides the event, and hopefully entices them to at least then see it on demand or listen to it on demand too.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Right, and I think your point about the on-demand and weaving it into future content strategies and themes and multi-purpose and basically extending the learning experience. And I want to sort of call out something you said earlier, Todd, talking about this space in the virtual and whether this maintains and what happens with face-to-face events. I think there's been a validation of this type of content delivery with a properly structured curriculum and really, really intense. Yes, there is webinar fatigue, but our last event with 500 registrants plus over a 2-day event, 3.5 hours worth of education each day, it's compact. Yes, there is fatigue, but for the right type of content in the right type of nurtured environment, we see an ongoing potential, and our intention and our plan right now is to make sure we're leading that in content delivery within this space in North America.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, as time goes on, right, next year, hopefully maybe the year after, whenever we get back to so-called normal, as things shake out, I think that content fatigue via webinar is really going to drift away because people will have options. This will become one of those stable options that someone has, and it's just going to be this other offering. And I think you've proven the model, right?
Well, we've proven the model, but we've also delivered leads to our sponsors. And one of the things that's really, really tough in this environment is delivering those leads. They may need a little bit of qualification and further nurturing, but we're teeing up the conversations that our sponsors were able to capitalize on. And we've got evidence of that. And we've got testimonials to attribute to that.
Yeah, great. All right, well, I think I have a full rundown of next year. It's exciting. Can't wait to get started. Maggie, is there anything else we should address before we sign off here?
Yeah, I mean, just to quickly say, going back to how we're educating and informing throughout the supply chain, we recognize as part of that sometimes you can't attend the live event. There's great value in the live event, as we talked about, with really engaging with the sponsors, with the attendees, asking the experts your questions right there and getting answers immediately. But you know, sometimes if you're in a retail environment, you can't stop and do that. All of our sessions are available on demand for free, which is a thanks to our sponsors for helping us to deliver this information. So on naturallyinformed.net, we've already done immune health and wellness, we've done sustainability, we've done the microbiome, and in addition to what we have coming up. So register for what we have coming up, and if you missed what we already did, you can go to naturallyinformed.net and view that. And it's such a great tool for retailers to educate, you know, the whole staff. So I definitely encourage people to take advantage of that. You can view the sessions at your convenience. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's really great. So I encourage everyone to go check those out on demand and look forward to some great topics for next year. Till then, guys, have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.